Hello folks, this is Sula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This is another game that's taken from the public beta environment, the PBE, and it's another look here at Set 5, Reckoning, an early look at it. In this game, we're going to be looking at a Rangers-based team composition. Rangers is one of the new traits. I guess it's really a returning trait because it's been in earlier versions of Teamfight Tactics, but it's back here for Set 5, and we're going to look at a game that plays through that particular trait. Now you might notice one change from some of the earlier versions of Set 5 that I've been putting up in videos over the last few days is that Riot did increase the size of the item icons. They, especially on the carousels, they're much bigger than they were before. And I think that's a good change, even though it looks a little bit silly with the big item icons on the carousels. It's really necessary because it was too hard to tell which items were shadow items and which items were not shadow items. The only distinguishing feature between the two of them is there's a green border, and it was really hard to see which was which. Apparently that was even bigger of an issue for mobile players. So they've addressed that, and now they made the items bigger, and we'll see if they have a more permanent fix as far as making them a little bit more visible. Now, in this game, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at Rangers. It's going to take me a little bit to get my team set up. In fact, this is a game where I do not get off to an especially good start, and that's one of the problems that you're going to see here. The video recording also skips here for a second. It skips ahead to the next combat round. And again, since we don't have true replays in Teamfight Tactics, you just have to take my word for it that this is in fact going to get fixed relatively soon, and then we'll be back to the normal video. There it goes. So just a little hiccup there on the video for you. One of the things that's different in this video is this video was not played with anyone else from our group. This is just me playing by myself here. I was signed in the early morning, and there was no one else around, so none of the other normal gang that we have here. This is just me in like a solo queue environment queued up in this game. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do as far as getting a team set up here. I had no particular direction on what I wanted to do, and then I get the dreaded Nico start, the 2 gold plus Nico start, which is the worst start in TFT. You don't get much in the way of money, and you don't get much in the way of economy. I guess those are technically the same thing. But so I'm trying to figure out something here. I was like, well, the only things I can think of to make are, if I go ahead and level here, I can go ahead and play this Varus along with the Vayne, and that's going to make Rangers. And then I have 2 Cavaliers in the Hecarim, and then also the Kled. But I don't have any 2-star units in here, so this is really not an ideal start to this particular game. All 1-star units, and 3 of the 4 units are 1 cost. Or no, I have 2 1-cost units. The Kled and the Vayne are 1-cost units. The Varus and the Hecarim are 2-cost units. So I really don't have much here, and you're going to see me getting punished for playing the game with like very little here. I am up against someone who's playing Dawnbringers. Dawnbringers is a trait that provides healing. When the Dawnbringer units drop below 50% HP, they get a big healing boost. And here at the beginning of the game, when I don't have a lot of damage, I just don't have anything to get through that healing that the Dawnbringer units are getting. So I get run over by that team comp pretty easily. And that's, as I said, this is not going to be a great start here at the beginning of the game. So I do get a choice of 2 items here. I get a shadow glove item, or I get the standard bow. And this was a bit of a trickier decision because right now I'm trying to play through the Vayne, and having 2 bows would not be terrible because Vayne scales really well with attack speed, but it's harder to get shadow items than it is to get the normal items. So you do generally want to take the shadow item if you can, if it's going to make something. So I opt to pass up the other item. But then I was like, oh, what can I actually make with this shadow thing? Do I want the trap claw? I was like, no, I don't think I really want that. The shadow trap claw causes the person on it to teleport to the first person who hits them with crowd control. And that wasn't really what I was looking for here. So for the moment, I just put something aside. I don't actually pick anything up. But that's bad because other people's comps are going to be getting stronger. And I did not get any stronger there. I still have no 2-star units. And I thought maybe I'd have a chance to win against this person because this person is still only level 3 and has not committed any of their items yet. So I really should be able to beat this person, but unfortunately focus firing is not great. Look how many units there are with very low health left, and I lose that round as well. And I was like, uh-oh. That's not a great sign that I just lost to someone who is only level 3 and has not committed any of their items yet. So I was like, ooh, this is not the start that I want. And until I can actually find more of these units, it's going to be a little bit of a rough go here. So I'm able to find another Vayne, able to find another Varus, but again, that's still not enough to make 2-star versions of the units. I still just have pairs on all of them. So unfortunately, I'm pretty weak, and I'm not even that strong economically. And again, this is the downside to getting that 2 gold plus Nico start. It just puts you so far behind the 8 ball. It's pretty universally acknowledged that this is like the weakest opener in terms of what you get in terms of items and gold and stuff. So I'm looking at different items to make here, and you saw I did actually make an item here. I decided to take the chain vest that was on Hecarim and pair it together with the Shadow Brawler's Glove to make the evil version of the Shroud of Stillness. Now this is a really unusual item. It's quite powerful. What it does is it shoots out the normal Shroud of Stillness beam, but it shoots it both in front of and behind the unit. So it will hit your units as well as the other team's units. So you have to be quite careful about where you place it because it has a big negative effect both on the enemy team and also on your team. The mana cost reduction is gigantic. It's actually a 65% mana cost reduction. So it's a very, very powerful item. However, the fact that it hits your own team means you have to be careful. I actually think it's quite a good item. It's a little, this is not really when I would want to make it. It's not really an early game item. It's much more useful in the late game, but I was just losing so much health that I wanted to do something to avoid bleeding out health, and I thought it was the best item I could make at the time with what I had. Because I've lost all these rounds, and I'm actually in pretty lousy shape right now with 80 health after just 3 rounds, I do get Carousel Priority, and I opt to take the Needlessly Large Rod. This is not a shadow item, but it's what I need in order to put this together. I'm going to use it to make the Rage Blade, which is, of course, one of Vayne's key items. And then I'm able to toss the Warwick in there to get the Forgotten trait in play. If you are unfamiliar with this trait, Forgotten is a trait that adds attack damage and ability power to the Forgotten units. I believe it's 35%. Here in this current version of the PBE, which again is subject to change. The other thing is Forgotten also scales with however many shadow items there are on Forgotten champions, so you get a 10% extra benefit for each shadow item on a Forgotten champion. So I'm getting a slight bonus on top of that because there is the shadow version of the Shroud of Stillness on Hecarim. It's not much of an additional bonus, but it does help. So I should be stronger here. Vayne now has one of her core items. Vayne's been around in a number of different versions of Teamfight Tactics, and she's still basically the same as she was in some of those earlier versions of Teamfight Tactics. She fires the silver bolts that deal true damage, and so she scales mostly based off of attack speed, so you want to get extra attack speed. But she is still a 1-star unit, and Hecarim's a 1-star unit, and Varus is a 1-star unit, and what else is there? And the Kled is a 1-star unit as well. So it's not really a surprise that I'm losing these rounds. And unfortunately, once again, I have another empty round here. At least that last round, I didn't lose as badly. I think I only took 4 damage as opposed to the 8 damage I was taking on some of the previous rounds. So trait-wise, I'm not looking that bad. Like 3 Forgotten, 2 Ranger, 2 Cavalier is not especially bad in terms of traits. The reason why I'm not in a strong position is I've got all 1-star units. Like my units themselves are not that bad. It's just that my board is all 1-stars. So I am rightfully being punished by a lot of these other players here. I'm just keeping the Shroud positioned in the middle. I was looking at some of the other teams. I thought that middle was a good place to put it for right now, just because it seemed like most of the other teams I was hitting, I'd hit a decent number of units by placing it there. And I was more likely to hit units with it there than as opposed to putting it on the 2 sides. I'm up against a Hellions team composition here. You can see these Hellion units keep running out of the portal back there. So in theory, it's probably best if I lose this round so I can carry this 4-match losing streak into the minion round. But I actually don't mind winning this, even though it does interrupt the losing streak, just because I wanted to stop bleeding out so much health. So economically, that is worse. I get quite a bit more gold if I lose that round, but I lost so much health already. I really want to turn this around and start winning matches instead of losing them, because I always like trying to play from ahead in this game. I am not a player who likes to go down to low health and then play from behind. So I'm also able to get some slightly better stuff here. I can replace the Warwick with Thresh. Thresh is going to be better for me because I'm not looking for damage from my front line. My front line is just there to try to provide protection for the Rangers in the back. I'd actually happily replace this Kled as well, and I ultimately decide, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think the Leona is better for what I'm doing here because I'm not really looking for damage from my front line. As I said, I'm just looking for frontline protection, and Leona can tank better than Kled can, although Kled's going to do more damage. So that puts the Knight trait in, and I do lose Cavalier, but I keep the Knight trait in, and we'll see what we get. I'll hold on to the Kled for now, just in case I would find more units, in case I find more Kleds or something like that. As far as items here, what do I get? I get a belt and a cloak, and this is generally seen as being some of the weaker items that you can get, so my luck is holding here. But I can make at least one useful item here. I can go ahead and turn the belt plus cloak into a Morello's, and I'm going to go ahead and do that and put it on Varus. He is not a terrible person to hold it. He's not ideal by any means, but he's a decent holder of Morello's. When he fires his arrow, whatever arrow thing, that will apply the Morello's healing debuff. I've been finding it's very important to have some kind of healing debuff in the set 5, just because there's a lot of healing in this set. In particular, Dawnbringer is a relatively popular trait, and that provides healing. But there's also stuff like Renewer, which provides health regeneration as well. Just a lot of stuff that adds extra. Like, this is a Dawnbringer's team here, so having a healing reduction is really useful against this team. Like, if you watch every time a unit gets low, they're going to be all these numbers that increase how much health regeneration they're getting. So I am able to get that healing debuff on a number of these units thanks to the Varus ultimate, and that is going to help out in these fights. Also, Hecarim getting off some nice ultimates here. It was like 2 different times he was about to die, and then he gets his ult off again and starts life stealing. Hecarim has the same ability that he had in set 4, whereby he like life drains from people next to him when his life bar fills up. So he's a pretty good frontline tank, although his mana costs are relatively high. Okay, so once again here, I get my choice between 2 different items. Neither one is a shadow item, so this is more just which item I think would be more useful to have. By the way, I should have mentioned this before. Note how the little graphic is not lining up for the shadow items. This is common across all of the shadow items in this particular version of the PBE. They just don't line up. So once again, I've still got all these 1-star units here. I was like, man, can I ever like 2-star any of these units? I guess I got the 2-star Hecarim, but still not feeling great about this setup here. But I did manage to find an Ashe, and that's going to be useful. I was trying to debate here, should I just go ahead and level up to 6 and play Ashe? And I was like, okay, let's go ahead and level up to 6 and play Ashe here, just to get another unit into the team comp. I believe that I do that here. Oh, no, never mind. I thought that I did that here. Must be enter the next round. I am casting this game from memory after playing it a little bit earlier. So once again, we're up against someone else. We're up against a player who's much wealthier than us. They are level 5. They have 50 gold in the bank. We only have 33 in the bank. But Hecarim is able to hold up just long enough. And now I'm hoping that Vayne, with that attack speed ramping up, is going to be able to deal the damage we need. And so I very narrowly am going to squeeze this one out. Yeah. So 1-star Vayne to the rescue there is able to grit her teeth and pull out that particular one. And there we get a nice hit to get the Vayne up to the 2-star version. So now my damage is starting to get a little bit more respectable. Here is where I'm going to put in the Ashe, because I saw I could spend 12 gold to level, I could still be at 30 gold, and I could play Ashe. So jump the gun a little bit on the commentary there. Ashe is another ranger. Now you might think, hey, Ashe is a 3-cost unit, so shouldn't I be looking to like itemize her as opposed to itemize Vayne? Well, it's a little bit funny as how this works out. Ashe is really not a unit that does a lot of damage. She provides crowd control with her ultimate, because here in set 5, her ultimate is the Enchanting Crystal Arrow, but she doesn't really do a lot of damage. Her damage is pretty low for a 3-cost unit, so you're better off itemizing the Vayne for damage, especially because she has a trait like Forgotten, which increases her damage output. And then using Ashe just to provide crowd control. So here it's just about, can Hecarim survive long enough for Vayne to kill everything? And the answer is no. No, that was not the case. That 2-star Nidalee in a skirmisher comp, much too strong. So unfortunately, I am going to lose that round. And the modest winning streak that I had does get interrupted. But hey, at least I get good priority on the carousel again. Now, at the moment, I have a leftover, what is it? I think I have a leftover cloak. So I have to consider what items I want to get in play here. What can I use that's going to be useful to combine together with that item? Well, I'm going to go ahead and go for the BF sword just because it's going to be useful on Vayne. And I believe that I combine that together with the cloak to make a Bloodthirster, which is another handy item on Vayne. Little lifesteal, a little bit more survivability, a little bit more damage. Or is it, do I make the Bloodthirster here, or do I make the Guardian Angel? I'm trying to remember what I make. I actually think I make the Guardian Angel here on her with this BF sword. There we go, getting 2-star Varus. So we're starting to get a little bit stronger here. I think I make the Guardian Angel just because it's an all-around useful item. Yeah, there we go. I forgot that I had the Chain Vest sitting on my bench there. So Vayne looking a little bit stronger there. Again, Vayne is still a 1-cost unit, so she's not going to carry super hard with just, just the items that I have here. But at least it's something, right? At least I'm no longer as weak as I was before. And if I can fill out, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have Vayne hold items for another unit later on to pick up. These items that I have right now would be reasonably good on Aphelios, who is a 4-cost ranger. I wouldn't mind putting them on Aphelios later, sell the Vayne and put them on Aphelios. Or alternately, if I can find Kayle, these are actually very good Kayle items. The Rage Blade is always good on Kayle because she scales really well with attack speed. By the way, Hecarim getting off ult after ult there. Look at all that lifesteal that or life drain tanking that he's doing. And even though I thought this other person's comp was quite a bit better than me, this person's running a Draconic comp, Hecarim just holds up like forever, and that provides enough time for Ashe and Varus to do their thing and get off more auto attacks with the Ranger trait. So I'm really hoping I can find one more Ranger, ideally Aphelios, or I guess at very low odds I could maybe find the Kindred. Starting at level 7, Kindred's a legendary unit, so I can't find Kindred until level 7, but one of those units to put in for 4 Rangers, or alternately, if I can find an early Kayle, I'll switch the items on Vayne over to Kayle, and then Kayle with the Rage Blade and Guardian Angel has a really nice setup. And then if I find Kayle, I'll probably put another defensive item on Kayle. It might even be something like a Quicksilver Sash just to keep her alive and look to just build like a brick wall in front of Kayle to keep her alive long enough to murder everything, because that's kind of what Kayle does. In this fight, Hecarim doesn't survive quite as long, and that's always a problem because once my front line goes down, it means bad things for the rest of my team. Here comes the Scion Abomination, and he is going to just beat the living daylights out of Vayne. So one of the things you can see from this fight is I really would like to upgrade my front line. Once the front line collapses, it's pretty ugly for me, and I sure would like to get some better units in that regard. I have been seeing these rises. If I can find another Mystic unit, I could consider getting rid of the Thresh and replacing Thresh with Rise. Now that would lose me the Night buff, which is useful for defensive purposes, but it would allow me to maybe pick up Mystic. So something to consider. It is a little pricey to hold those Rises on my bench. Rise is a 4-cost unit, so it is actually costing me a little bit, but I like having my options open. So here I'm waiting to see what I'm going to get from the minion rounds, and I see a Tear pop out. And I get another Ashe, so hey, that's going to be a 2-star Ashe. Very nice. There's another Thresh. So now I want to see what I can get here. I did get another BF Sword, so I have a couple different options here. I'm going to go ahead and level, and I'll put in the Rise for right now. He gives me another Forgotten unit, but otherwise doesn't really do that much. And I'm sitting here thinking about this, and I was like, all right, well, look, go ahead and make the Bloodthirster. And then I've got the item for a Frozen Heart. I was like, okay, that feels pretty good. We'll make the Hecarim more tanky. Frozen Heart is going to slow the attack speed of everyone near him. And it's also going to give him a little mana, so he ults just a little bit faster, which might be the difference of him staying alive and then life-stealing off of the enemies as opposed to dying. So feeling a little bit better. Those items were pretty good, and I actually like Vayne's items pretty well at this point. One nice thing is I also have the possibility to go into Draven now because I've got a Bloodthirster, and I've also got a Guardian Angel and the Rage Blade. I wouldn't say these are like best in slot Draven items, but they're certainly playable, and I do have these Forgotten units in here, so there is the potential to go up to like 6 Forgotten and look to play Draven. So as usual, it's going to depend on what I hit here and what I choose to play. I really would like to find another Ranger because the attack speed bonus that you get from Rangers goes up significantly. If you're not familiar with how this trait works, basically Rangers get attack speed every 4 seconds, and they get different amounts of attack speed depending on how many Rangers are in. I'm going to take the Shadow tier here just because there's a lot of interesting stuff that can build out of the Shadow tier. But I believe that so here's some of the different options. I would really like the, the Evil Chalice would be awesome to get. I could always put a Frozen Dark Heart on Hecarim as well. Combine the normal Dark Heart with the Frozen Dark Heart would be pretty nice. And even the Shojin version wouldn't be that bad. I could put it on Ashe and she would just ult a lot with, because like, again, the evil version of Shojin, I believe, cuts some of the damage. I might be wrong on this. I'm trying to come up with it from memory. But you fill up the mana really, really quickly. So if you have a unit like Ashe where you don't really care about the damage, you just want to generate lots of mana in a hurry, I wouldn't mind putting that on Ashe as well. Now, this is going to be funny. Watch this person. This person has 2 Archangel Staffs and an Evil Archangel Staff on the Aatrox. So what this is doing is Aatrox is going to get more AP every single time he ults from the normal Archangel Staffs, and he's going to get more health every time he ults from the Shadow Archangel Staff. So, like, look at this Aatrox and his health bar. I actually am putting the Morello's debuff on him to stop some of his healing, but, like, it doesn't even matter. He just goes back up to full health instantly over and over and over again. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit silly. This 3-star Aatrox, it's got all these Archangel Staffs. That's a little bit nutty. And I think that Aatrox ended up with some ridiculous amount of health. Well, anyway, I am able to pick up, I get some big hits there. This was a really good round in terms of what was in the shop. I 2-star the Leona, I 2-star the Thresh, And then I also find a Rel in the shop. And I'm going to toss the Rel in as well. Rel is a really useful unit, 4-cost unit, provides a lot of crowd control with her ultimate, but also has some really cool traits. She's got the Cavalier trait. I believe she has the Redeem trait as well. I think that's where I'm getting redeemed from. Let's see. Yes, I'm getting redeemed from Rel and Leona, and also the Varus. So she puts Redeemed in play. Redeemed is similar to the Elderwood trait. It's like stacking armor and magic resistance as the fight goes on, is a similar trait there. And she also puts Cavalier trait in play, which is going to be nice for Hecarim. It's going to reduce some of the damage Hecarim takes and makes it easier for him to just sit there and tank forever. So Rel is a great complement to this, and my front line, which was so weak before, is actually now pretty decent. And, if that front line holds up, even though Vayne is a 1-cost unit and she's only a 2-star, she does have pretty good items. Like Guardian Angel, Bloodthirster, Rageblade, none of them are shadow items, but those are pretty good. So I'm feeling better and better about this game. And like I said, if I can just find one more Ranger to toss in here for 4 Rangers, I think I've actually got something pretty solid. I still have pretty good carousel priority because I took all those losses earlier, and I see an item that I really, really want. I still have that Shadow tier from earlier. I was like, oh, give me that cloak. I know it's on a 1 gold unit. It's on Heimerdinger, who's a one gold, sells for 1 gold, which is kind of lousy. But the Evil Chalice is really, really nice. I think I've featured this in some of the other videos I've done for Set 5, but I just love this item. It is similar to a normal Chalice, except the person you put it on actually loses ability power. I believe they lose like 40 ability power, and then the 2 people standing next to them gain a big amount of ability power. By the way, I actually find an early Kindred here, and I was like, oh, early Kindred, that sounds fantastic. So I'm going to put this on Ashe. Remember, I don't actually care about Ashe's damage. The only thing I care about as far as Ashe is concerned is that she just provides that crowd control. So I was thinking, like, do I take the Leona out? But I was like, no, if I take Leona out, I lose Knight and Redeem. That doesn't seem worth it. And then I was like, if I take the Thresh out, I lose Knight and I lose Forgotten. I was like, all right, well, I want to play this Kindred, but I think I just hold until after the minion round, go 8, and then play the Kindred there. So even though it feels bad to have this Kindred sit on my bench not being used, I think it's the right decision for right now to just hold off on that, because I don't want to lose. I don't want to weaken my front line. My damage is good enough. I don't want to weaken my front line. All right, so with this in play, now Vayne and Varus are getting that huge ability power boost. Like I said, I think they get 50 extra AP. And although Ashe is doing like no damage at all, I don't care about Ashe's damage. All I care is that she just provides crowd control from shooting her arrows. And so the Chalice even helps her get the first arrow off earlier because it's a mana item. So really love this item. I think in particular the aura items are really good. Just in general, I think they always have been pretty good, but some of the evil aura items in particular are just great. Now, the Ivern was really tempting here, but I was like, I like Ivern, but I just don't think he fits this comp, even though he's got some great traits. But I do pick up something that's interesting. I see that there is what's her name? The Lux. So what I'm going to do at the next level is I'm going to drop I'm going to look to drop the Leona, and then I'm going to replace her with the Lux and with the Kindred. And although that will cost me the Knight buff, I will keep Redeemed in because Lux has Redeemed, and I'll pick up Mystic, which will give everybody on the team the extra magic resistance. And of course, plus I'm moving out of lower tier units into higher tier units. Leona is a 1-cost unit, so I want to, again, try to move out of some of the lower tier units as the game goes on into higher tier units. And I'll be able to do that by going into Kindred, who's a 5-cost legendary unit, and Lux, who's a 3-cost unit. So I actually teared through this team pretty good, and don't look now, but I've actually won, I think, like 4 of the last 5 rounds, and I think it was like 5 of the last 6 rounds, something like that. So despite bleeding out all that health earlier, I've managed to stabilize here in the mid game, and I'm actually in a pretty healthy position here. So I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm keeping an eye on some of these other team comps. I'm still concerned by the person who's playing that 6 redeemed Aatrox right there, because Aatrox has all that stuff. Oh, I guess Redeemed, I said earlier Redeemed gets a stacking bonus. That's actually not true, but it is when it's kind of like a stacking bonus, because as Redeemed units die, their extra armor magic resistance gets split amongst the surviving Redeemed units. So not quite the same as Elderwood, but reasonably similar in terms of how it functions. Not exactly the same, but a very similar trait, to say the least. Alrighty, so here, that was not a particularly good minion round right there. I just get one, what is it? I just get the one item, a cloak, which is not going to be terribly useful. So overall then, this is the board I've got right now. I go up to the 4 Rangers, so if you watch my Rangers, after 4 seconds, they're going to get a huge attack speed buff, and I believe it alternates on and off every 4 seconds. At Ranger 4, I believe that the stacking attack speed bonus is 120%. So like they'll get this huge attack speed buff that'll switch on and off every 4 seconds. I believe that's how it works. Again, it's still very early in the set. Don't kill me if I'm getting this wrong. But like that Shroud that early in the game wasn't doing a whole lot has suddenly become like better and better and better as the game goes on, because it's hitting more and more units. As with the normal Shroud of Stillness, it gets better. It becomes more valuable as the game goes on because there's more units to hit. And, you know, we're actually looking pretty strong here overall. Now, the bad news is I still haven't found an Aphelios. I would transfer out of Vayne into Aphelios if I could find Aphelios. Like, I would just sell the Vayne. I would move out a Forgotten trait, which I'm only playing because I've got Vayne in here. Like, I could look to replace the Thresh and look to replace the... What's the other one? The Hecarim, maybe with better frontline units, because they are only 2-cost units. But as long as I'm playing Vayne, and by the way, look at that Aatrox now at 5,500 health, now at 5,700 health. So that actually ends up being a double loss, which is great for me, because that player, LZ Yerba, or whatever, had been on a really long winning streak. So here I have a question. It's like, do I want to roll here on level 8? You know, if I want to, I could try to roll here. But I was sitting here, I was like, you know, I'm on a winning streak here. Do I really need to roll? Maybe I was like, why don't I just sit here and, you know, see how things go for a round or two. And as long as I'm feeling pretty strong relative to the rest of the lobby, I don't think a lot of these other team comps are all that strong, honestly. And part of this is when you're playing on PBE, you do tend to run into lobbies that are not maybe quite as strong as you might see in the normal client, just because there's fewer people on the PBE. But I was like, you know, I'm feeling reasonably strong here. Why don't we try to fast 9 here? And just see how it goes, because I'd love to get to 9 and have better odds to find Kale and maybe find more Kindreds, and we'll go from there. But I wasn't feeling pushed too much by this lobby, so you know, if you don't have to roll, you shouldn't roll unless they're like, you should never roll unless you're trying to meet some kind of a goal. I mean, the biggest goal is I'm weak relative to the rest of the lobby. That's the main reason why you normally need to roll. But you know, if you're strong relative to the rest of the lobby and like you're not in a position where your health is low, and I'm actually at a point where now I'm tops in the lobby on health. Oh, you know, why not try to econ this for the time being? I do get a Draven, so I had to think here for a second, like, do I want to play Draven? But ultimately, I was like, you know, I'm kind of deep in the Rangers comp right now. I don't really want to try to switch from Rangers over to Legionnaire. I think that would be the more ideal play, to go into Legionnaire and play Draven. Maybe go up to 6 Forgotten, pick up maybe like 6 Forgotten Legion 2, something like that, with frontline units. I think that would be more ideal, because Draven definitely carries harder than Vayne does, especially a 2-star Vayne and not a 3-star Vayne. But, you know, I was feeling pretty happy with this setup, and I'm still hoping I can find either Kale or Aphelios and go from there. But as I said, the lobby's not punishing me, so we're going to look to go to 9, and then we'll roll there. Probably go to 9 after the minion round at the end of Stage 5. And like I said, look to go from there. I do like the way that Kindred is positioned. I have Kindred in such a place such that when Kindred ults, it hits all of my carries in the back line and gets off a lot of healing. And you know, Hecarim just tanks for so long in all these fights. That evil Shroud of Stillness is doing more and more work as these rounds go on, and I'm really happy with how this has gone. I do think that Ashe is keeping up, or not Ashe, I do think Vayne is keeping up in damage, in part because I have that evil Chalice that's buffing her. I mean, 50 extra ability power, it's like she's got a free death cap on her, in addition to having very good items for Vayne. So now I get to pick late at the end of the carousel. I'm looking around to see what I can try to pick up here. And I do have last pick, so I'm going to have to pick what's left over. And I'm looking here, I was like, all right, no one wants the evil Trap Claw? I'm like, all right, it's on a 5 gold unit, like, and it's a pretty good item, so I'll just take that. Thank you very much. So I'm going to sell that, and I was thinking of picking up the Thresh, and I was like, wait a minute, I already have 2-star Thresh. I'm not going to try to 3-star this. You have also seen me picking up the Nautilus. This is for me to do a swap on my front line. If I can find a replacement for Vayne, I will drop the Forgotten trait. I'll drop Thresh, and then I'll play Nautilus, so I can pick up the Ironclad trait with Rel, and that would give everyone on my team armor. But as long as I'm playing Vayne, I'm not going to drop the Forgotten trait. As far as the Dark Trap Claw or Evil Trap Claw, I put it on Rel, and so the reason for this is due to the way that the Trap Claw works is it provides crowd control. It blocks the first crowd control and teleports the unit that teleports the unit hit by it to that location. So basically what I want is, if you watch Rel in these fights, Rel is going to get hit by enemy crowd control, and then she's going to get teleported into the enemy backlines, and that's exactly what I want, because then Rel can CC the enemy backline. So it's a very nice item for her. You don't really want to put the Evil Trap Claw on a carry. You want to put it on a tank. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have quite enough to win that round. Seraphine there seems to have a nice Karma comp going there. And good itemization on Karma. That's pretty much best in slot on Karma from what I understand. The Death Cap and the Blue Buff and the Jeweled Gauntlet. So I wasn't quite able to cut through that team comp fast enough, but I'm getting pretty close to level 9 here. And I think that I can outdo that comp because that person, who is that, Seraphine? Seraphine's been staying on 7 and rolling on 7, whereas I'm almost to level 9 right now. So my board can cap out at a significantly higher amount. Some of these players, in fact, quite a few players seem to be stayed at 7 and rolled on 7, whereas I've just literally been econing for like the last 10 rounds or so. I don't think I've rolled since very early in the game. I'm not sure if I rolled at all this game because I was able to stabilize in the mid game. So yeah, I'm getting close to level 9, and like I said, because I won all these rounds in the mid game, I had the economy and the health to be able to push a fast 9, and hopefully we're about to see the rewards for doing that. We are able to kill the Viego, who is trying to mind control or soul steal from somebody in the back lines, and yeah, my Rangers are kind of untouched, and you know what? If the Rangers are untouched, they're going to do a lot of damage, because they get a lot of attack speed, and Vayne with that Rage Blade is just going to keep doing true damage with her Silver Bolts. So she still does the most damage. A bit of a surprise is that Varus actually does the second most damage, but, you know, the Morello's adds the true burn, and he does have the Chalice, the evil Chalice, pumping up his ability power. So when he ults, it actually hurts pretty good. Alright, so we got one more minion round, and then after this, I'm pretty much cleared to go to level 9, so I'll be looking to do that after this minion round. I still have the Neeko's help, by the way. That Neeko's has sat on my bench literally the entire game. Still have not seen any Aphelioses, and still have not seen any Kaels up to this point in time. I've got a Sunfire, so I'm just going to put this on a frontliner, and I'm thinking I would put it on... I believe I put it on Rel because Hecarim's already capped out in terms of items, and Rel is probably my best other frontliner. Not the worst thing, it gives me another source of healing debuff. I also managed to find Garen. I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. Maybe I can play the Garen. And I find another Kindred. I was like, okay, I can Nico the Kindred. Now show me, show me another version of Kael, or show me Aphelios. Show me one of the units that is a legendary that I can play into. I find another Darius. I was like, all right, well, okay. So I can play the Darius or I can play the Garen here. I can play either one. I'll go ahead and toss in the Garen for right now. And I'm going to put the Sunfire down on the Rel. And I still have that Nico. But now that I've rolled down, I probably should just Nico the Kindred to get that extra attack speed. But, you know, this is looking pretty good here. Overall, I've got 4 Ranger. I've got the Garen in, 3 Forgotten, 3 Redeemed, 2 Mystic, 2 Knight, 2 Cavalier. So frontline's pretty sturdy, reasonably so. And, you know, we actually cut through that Scion almost instantly because we've got some of the true damage on these units. And we're going to eliminate that player, although they were only level 7, so they probably didn't manage their economy all that great. They were still level 7. But yeah, we're looking pretty good here, and I still have the Nico, so we actually hit 2-star Darius, so I was like, all right, well, Garen, you know, you're nice, Garen, but I hit 2-star Darius, not you. And in fact, Darius is probably better anyway. The way it works with the two of them is Garen has when Garen ults, he has a magic resist shred, and when Darius ults, he has an armor shred. So since my comp is mostly physical damage, it's honestly better that I'm playing Darius in here because he will shred the armor. And as I said, my comp's mostly physical damage. I'm also still holding the option to go up to 4 Knights. Like if I move out of the Forgotten trait, I would drop the Ash here, and then I would drop the. I would look to maybe go up to 4 Knights. So that's why I'm holding on to the. The Nautilus and also holding on to the Garen because I want that possibility of playing 4 Knights, and we'll probably move out of the Cavalier. We'll probably move out of the probably drop the Cavalier and play 4 Knights as an option instead, and drop the Forgotten trait. But in order to do that, I have to find a Kael or I have to find an Aphelios, and they have just not shown up the entire game. So a little weird that happened. I probably would have found them if I rolled on 8, but you know, things are going well, and I'm not exactly unhappy with how things have gone thus far. So we'll pick up Rel and look to roll here, and we hit Rel 2-star, and I'm like, you know what, this is probably my board, because this, you know, we're on stage 6-3, there's not much time left here. I don't think I would have enough time to 2-star like a Kael or an Aphelios, even if I found it at this stage of the game. So I think this is our board. I think we've 2-starred literally every unit, and it's looking pretty solid here. Like I've got very solid front line with Hecarim getting off, and look at like these shrouds. This shroud is going to hit like 6 people on the enemy team, including the Jax, which is the carry in this comp. The Jax and the Nidalee are the 2 carries here. So we managed to get that shroud off, and the question is just, can we cut through the Jax and cut through the Nidalee before they manage to kill my whole team? But frontline's holding up. like we got that healing debuff in play because Nidalee heals a lot with her double Hodges there. But, you know, we just need to do a little bit more damage. Kindred gets off the ult, and, well, that's a ghost round, but we did manage to win it. So even though we're up against Nidalee 3, I'm feeling pretty decent. I actually haven't lost in a little while now. We do have a carousel, so I have an option to pick, and I was like, you know what? This team's got a lot of healing. I think the most valuable thing I can get is another Morello's, add another healing debuff. I think that was more useful than anything else I could get here out of all this stuff. So I'm going to take this, and I was like, but wait, who can actually apply this? And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Rel probably is pretty good at applying this, because when she ults, she's going to drop into the middle of the enemy team. Particularly with that trap call, she'll probably get teleported into the middle of the enemy team. So I am going to look to put this on her. I also was thinking about Darius, but ultimately decided to put it on Rel. Ideally, the Shadow Trap Ball will teleport her into the middle of the enemy team, and then she'll apply that healing debuff. And so I'm watching the enemy team. I was like, you know what? Do I have to reposition Hecarim? I was like, I think right here is slightly better. So I'm going to look. I'm going to get that Nidalee, because I think the 3-star Nidalee is what most concerns me. So yep, we get the Nidalee. That's going to delay her transform. And Hecarim's going to sit there soaking up damage. Watch for the Rel. Watch for when she's going to get hit by CC and just jump into the middle of the enemy team to apply that healing debuff to everybody. And, boy, she was really delayed in casting. I guess she didn't really do that much in this fight. Maybe I was thinking of another fight where she actually did stuff. But, like, Darius shreds the armor. And that's going to be that. GG. We knocked this player out. It wasn't even close in the last round there. So, yeah, good stuff. I'll take it. And it actually ends up being a pretty smooth game. Oh, Hecarim really not legit. Okay. Yeah, 2-star Hecarim, really not legitimate. Yeah, okay. So maybe not the absolute top-tier opponents in this game. I'm not sure, but I was pretty happy with how this one played out. It was a rough early game, but I thought that I built items that were really good for my comp and just used the items to carry me through, even though I never actually found an Aphelios or a Kale. In any case, though, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a good one. Take care soon, guys.